But once again, so glad that you all are here. As noted in the chat, someone has asked if this will be recorded, and yes, it will. We plan to record this session, and we'll and hope to send this out, and that will be posted on our YouTube page for First Year Experience. So that will reside there for you all to reference if you have to, leave, or if you know someone that would benefit from this information. And for those that will not be here, we'll be sure to send that out as well. So anyway, I'm Dr. James Winfield, and we'll get started just shortly. All right, so Amanda, if you are ready, I think we can go ahead and proceed with press and record, and then we can go ahead and get started.
The recording is started. You ready to go to the next slide too?
Yeah.
All right. There we go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. So glad that you're here with us. My name is Dr. James Winfield. I serve as the Associate Dean for First Year Experience and General Education. In a nutshell, what my title means is that my job is to think of different ways and strategies for you to be engaged and to help you out throughout your first year and beyond at SNHU, because we want to ensure that you know about your resources, support, and so forth here. So what I'm going to do now is actually hand it over to Amanda Groves, and she's going to provide an introduction, and then we'll just kind of go into a little bit of our experiences with writing it to hopefully engage you in this conversation of resources and so forth. And we have one of our great colleagues from academic support here as well.
Hi, everybody. Good morning or afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in. I was realizing we were jumping across maybe a few here. I am Amanda Groves. I'm an associate dean on the liberal arts team, but specifically, I oversee our first year composition courses and business communication. And again, as James said, we really look at first year experience to see how we can maximize on the scaffolding, the supports that we offer in specifically the first year composition courses, but throughout all the programs. And that's really our goal here today, is to help you get acclimated and familiarize yourself with strategies for success in the course, as well as taking advantage of the excellent support resources that Maureen's going to tell us about in a little bit. So I'll turn it back over.
All right, so I'll go ahead and let Maureen introduce herself, and then Amanda will get back to us, and we can just provide our framing on writing as is specified for the first year.
Hi everyone, welcome. I am always very excited to meet and speak with new learners. So welcome aboard. This is incredibly exciting, and it's very inspiring to be a part of this webinar. I am Maureen Maraska. I am one of the managers in the Academic Support Center. We are a holistic center that is made up of a variety of team members that I will talk about shortly. And I am here to talk with all of you about visiting us early, the reasons why, and how we can, work together to really strengthen your confidence, not just in writing, but overall. So I'm looking forward to talking with you more.
Awesome. Thank you, Maureen. Maureen is coming to us, as I mentioned, from the Academic Support Center, and just know that always seek support. If you have questions, definitely engage in that and make sure that you reach out to individuals. And that's what we're trying to do, is to help normalize that. So what I'm going to do is actually just talk about a little bit of my experience with writing and how that pertains to where we are now. I remember when I was a first year student in college, I remember coming from my high school and I was told, hey, you're a pretty good writer. And then when I got into college, it was a little bit different, because I had to learn different techniques and writing longer papers and so forth. And in that same vein, I will mention that I am also also a first generation college student. So I'm the first in my family to go on to complete a bachelor's degree, and then also went on to earn my graduate degrees as well. So I felt like I didn't know who to go to. But with that, I realized later on, and it wasn't until I became like a peer worker on campus, that, whoa, there are resources here to support me in this. I don't have to do all of this alone. I remember going to our writing center and having individuals give me feedback on my papers, and it was so helpful because a lot of times you look at a paper and you realize that you think it looks one way, but then others will read it and you're honestly seeing what's in your mind, but not it's not necessarily there always. So that's we're human. And I want to say that first. We are human. We make errors, we make mistakes. And guess what? There are several published books out there that have errors in them, but we want to put forth the best work possible, right? And you're going to write within several different courses, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But whether you're in, English composition, or if you're in some other courses that support writing, just know that we are here to support you. We have all gone through a process like this. And I remember on the survey that you all filled out, just want to spout out some of the things that I saw. Some of you said, I want to become a successful writer. Citations are my biggest concern. There are resources and here to support that. I want to just learn how to write and achieving a better writing skill. So, in so many words, those are all related. So many different levels of feedback that show that we all have some of the same concerns, and that we hope to mitigate that today by letting you know about the resources to support you. So, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda, and then we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, super brief background. Like James, I was also a first gen student. And another note that I put here is I actually changed my major 3 times because when I first started my college journey, I think as a first gen student too, you have a little bit of a hurdle getting acclimated to just university life and what is out there and what support. So, same as James, I didn't necessarily know what the supports were around academics. And, even though I am the composition dean now, I think back to my freshman writing experience and think, wow, I really wish I would have known about the writing center and things that I could have worked on within those classes. And another thing about me too is that as I progressed in my education, I worked in a different university's writing center as a graduate student and really just kind of fell in love with that piece of the puzzle with helping, with the additional support. I think so many people think that taking that extra step is unnecessary, or they don't want to do it, or they don't have time. But really, the university invests so much time and energy in those support resources that it's really great to take advantage of those as a student. And it can really help propel your writing and get you to a place you want to be a lot quicker. So, yeah, as a first gen student, it would have been really helpful for me to know about those support resources. But no matter where you're coming in, maybe you are not a first gen student, so you've had someone in your family to kind of usher you into this university experience, or maybe you're even bringing in transfer credit, so you're not new to college yourself. It's still always really good when you're getting acclimated to a new university to know what's available to me. And knowing that before you dive into a lot of courses will be so advantageous, because then when you do get into one of those spots where you think, I need a little extra help, you'll already know where to turn. So you'll be ahead of the curve in that sense. So that is my background. I will go ahead, James, if we're ready to go to the next slide. Not the last one, the next one. There we go.
So just some brief demographics on SNHU students. So about 40% of our students identify as first generation college students, being the first to pursue and potentially complete a college degree. 11% of our students say that they may need support in English or writing. Actually, that turns out to be a little bit more, and that is okay. But upon students coming in, those and once they take our orientation experience, this is what they identified. And then 57% stated that they will reach out when they need help. Now, that's the thing that we want to hold your feet to the fire on and make sure that you definitely follow through on that, because we know that help seeking can be a big gap. And for many of us, we don't like to ask for help. Next slide. All right, so there are reservations that many of us have about writing. So we're going to unpack that just a little bit. And I think in the chat as we're going through, why don't you all go ahead and just put in some of the reservations that you may have about writing. You can just drop that in the chat and we can kind of respond to that as we're going. All right, next slide. Okay, so writing is everywhere. Writing is definitely everywhere. So, despite your profession or what you aspire to go in, you're going to write. Okay. I was a mass communication major in undergrad, so my writing looked different. I had to write for broadcast. I had to write for TV and radio. So those types of communications look different. So I had to write for that. But if you're in the business arena, know that executive summaries and reports, you have to communicate. You have to be able to articulate your thoughts clearly. It may look different, it may be shorter, but you have to get the point across. In education, for those of you who are in education or have experience with, maybe relatives or thinking about your teachers coming up, they had to make lesson plans. They had to make syllabi to guide you. And it had to be so direct to ensure that you knew what was coming in that course. And then in law enforcement, if you're in the law enforcement arena or if you aspire to go in law, those you have, briefs and things like that. But if you're in law enforcement, incident reports articulating what happened between people and what happened in an incident is definitely something that needs to be articulated. So that ultimately aligns with communication and making sure that that is a huge skill. And the way that we do that, of course, verbally, but also on paper or via computer. And there are some reasons, for uncertainty here, right? Reasons for uncertainty in writing can go into imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome really is just feeling like you don't belong. But first, I want to validate you all and let you know that you are here at SNHU for a reason. We sought in you to be a qualified student here at the institution, and just know that you are worthy. So dispel that. I know that can creep in intermittently throughout your time based upon experiences, challenges, and maybe even people that you may encounter. But know that we are here to support you, and that regardless, you got this. You've got this. Learning from mistakes. Sometimes we take mistakes as things that just kind of hold us back and that we just can't come back from. So remember, writing is a process. We're going to talk about that. And then past experiences. How many of you have had bad experiences with writing? You can just say yes or no, in the chat. I think many of us, Maureen has her hand raised. Definitely bad experiences can kind of taint how you perceive yourself in writing. So I know Amanda's going to talk about this a little bit, but how feedback comes out and how do you take it and how do you use it, and just not being overwhelmed when you receive it. Okay. All right. Writing is a learning process, as I mentioned. Failure is not finite. Know that it will not continue for the rest of your life. It's just different waves of mistakes that I mentioned previously, and then you go over these processes, you reach out to some support, and that helps you to get over that. Mistakes can be corrected, and know that with a writing process, you will learn as you continually go. So, yeah, so I'm looking in the chat, see a lot of people putting things in there about, their previous experiences with writing, paraphrasing. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. All right.
Think this is me, and I
Yep.
promise I'll learn how to run this slide deck eventually. James and Maureen. Oh my goodness, I love everything that's coming up in the chat. This is so great. And later we're going to talk about self-efficacy and self-awareness, what it sounds like all of you that have commented, you're on the right track to identifying some of those trouble spots. But here we just wanted to talk about kind of settling in and what you do in the beginning. And I know in the current term, we are already in flight. We're in week 4, I think, already of the undergrad term. But as you do take on additional courses, we do know that weeks 1 through 3 tend to be the most critical. That might seem commonsensical, but we hear that over and over again from our folks in advising and then some of the metrics we track. So really a strong start, and especially when you think about how quickly these 8-week terms can go past, getting that strong start is very important. And something that we do in composition as well is try to encourage students always to take advantage of that preview period. So before you get in the course, you're not diving in, you're not doing coursework, but you can come in and you can kind of get yourself acclimated to what the course is going to ask you to do, what you're going to be expected to turn in, especially when it comes to written assessment. The preview window is also a good time. I know a lot of you have mentioned citation. Um, and that can be something to note as you're getting into the course. So what's going to be asked of me for formatting, citation, the academic integrity policy is also linked in the course, and you can review that. And that's not to maybe make you nervous or think about, the punitive ramifications of the academic integrity policy. Really, I think you can ease some of your nerves if you're just familiar with the different facets and going in, okay, these are the expectations. And now I feel more prepared for what's going to be asked within those written assessments. And then the last one, like James said, remember, writing is a process. So I also know that during that 2-week preview window, it can get intimidating if you're looking at these really big summative assessments and you think, oh my goodness, I have to do all of this. But don't forget, you can break down each piece of that into a manageable chunk and again ease some of that stress. So you have, typically we teach that there are 5 major parts of the writing process. Depending on what you've developed and curated as a good strategy for yourself, it might look a little bit different, but you can break it down. You can brainstorm ideas, you can build an outline, draft, and then revise and submit. A lot of our courses also have built-in iteration where you'll get feedback, and we'll talk a little bit about instructor feedback too. But remember, it's all a process. You can take it in small, manageable chunks, and acclimating yourself during that preview window will really help you get started on the right foot. All right. I think we're back to James.
Yep. Yep. So prioritizing your paper, just kind of just summing up with what Amanda was just talking about, pace it out. Do what you can to pace it out. Just do it in chunks, right? Just find different milestones and set them for yourself and just say, okay, if I can get, this many paragraphs done, or um, if I can make it to this page mark by this day, or, just make it manageable is what I'm saying. And if you don't engage in that, then you find yourself rushing at the last minute, and you don't want to have that frenzy, because then that's when you can potentially not put forth your best work. And I know Amanda was talking about that process. Proofread, find a trusted person to read over your paper. But I recognize also that we all may not be in a situation to where we're around someone that we feel like, okay, they can actually look at my paper and give me the feedback that I need. That's okay. So with that, that's when you can lean on the services that Maureen will share to ensure that you get the support from someone who can really look at it from a lens of writing, but also utilize Grammarly services, free editing services like that. And there is a free option. For Grammarly that students can apply for. I've used that even in my graduate school time, because I had several papers that I had to write overlapping for different classes and so forth. And it was so helpful because it helped to catch things that I did not necessarily see. And I would even do it for my discussion posts. Recognize that writing is not just papers as well. It's all these different contributions that we need to make. And there's a penalty to procrastination. So I kind of alluded to that. Improper citation of sources. Sometimes, it can be a mistake in your citation, right? Make sure that if it's not your words, or even if you slightly doubt that, okay, well, I think I heard this before, try to go back and find where you heard those words before, and make sure that you cite it properly, because that can come up in what's known as a Turnitin score that your papers will be run through. So poor paraphrasing can also fall into that. And then the temptation to cheat or copy. Don't do it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Just stay away from it as much as possible, because in the Turnitin bank, we have a roster of papers that have been submitted, I mean, several places. And what it does is it aligns that and looks at the different scores. So you don't want to get into that and possibly have academic integrity sanctions. Not going to get into that too much. We know you all won't do that. You won't have to worry about that. But Amanda and I have had to sit on several committees for students who have been found to have done that, and the outcomes have not been great for their tenure at the institution. But this little thing here on the right side that you will see that has the different color codings. That's what a Turnitin score would look like. It shows up in different color ranges to alert a professor on what the match is to other papers that are in that bank. So, of course, you can see at the bottom where the orange and red is. You definitely don't want to be in that, but just be as precautious as possible, and know that we want to hear your words, your words, your words, not taken away from that at all. But when it is something that is from another source, be sure to cite. And now we're going to hand it over to Maureen, who's going to talk about academic support at SNHU.
It's my cue. So welcome again, everyone. I am very excited to talk with you about the Academic Support Center. I am very excited to talk with you about who we are, how do we provide um, best-in-class services to our students, and what does the buffet of options look like for you? So I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into that. You can go ahead, Amanda, and hit the old slide. So learners, when you log into Brightspace, you will find there is a nav bar right away that has options, and there's an academic support center link. That's where you can click in to find us. We are also located in every course as a module. So when you open up any course that you are currently enrolled and registered for, and you look through all the modules, and they all contain your course assignments, one of the modules will be Academic Support Center, and you can also get in and access us that way. What you will always see once you click on that link is a welcome page. It will say welcome, it will say your name, and you will see a nav bar that contains all the way from home all the way to what's you're seeing that says my account. And I want to break down just very quickly what each of these options are, because it really depends on any given moment what you might need. And you can partake in all of the options. It's never a one or the other scenario. We are here to create a holistic support around reading comprehension, writing needs, STEM, math needs. We're here to support you in all of those things. But certainly here we're going to be focusing on writing. So I did want to just point out that one of the things that each of our services can help build is not only your writing skills, but your confidence in writing. And I think sometimes that's even the more significant piece. But let's take a look at our options, and let's talk about them more specifically. Thank you, Amanda. So one of the options that you will see across the navigation bar is 24/7 tutoring. This is a service where you don't need to pre-schedule anything. If you are working on something and in the moment, no matter how early in the morning or how late into the evening, you hit that roadblock, you can click in to the 24/7. You'll see a subject area, and they're going to want you to break it down a little further to be as specific as you can. And you are going to check that you want the chat option if you want to be able to speak to the tutor. If you don't have any interest in that, you can just type in the chat box, that's fine. But we are discovering more and more that students really value the option of communicating verbally with the tutor. So there's lots of broken down specifics for writing. Once you get in there, play around early. Get in there today and start to play around in the Academic Support Center and take a look at the drop downs in the 24/7. You're not going to make a mistake. You're not going to break anything. Even if you made an appointment inadvertently, please do not worry about that. We want zero stress when you go in and play around and explore this area, because it is all here for you. Our peer tutors differ from the 24/7 drop-in tutoring. Our peer tutors are SNHU students who have been hired into this professional role. They are empathetic and knowledgeable about the SNHU online experience. They are students who literally are walking the walk that you are right now, so they can completely relate. Our peer tutors are very specifically hired depending upon the skill set that they come with. And we have many peer tutors who are SNHU students who can support you with your writing needs. And I'm seeing all the list of writing needs in the chat. And they can absolutely help you. So 24/7, very easy and convenient. Our in-house peer tutors are SNHU students. The only difference is when you get in there nice and early, you do need to schedule with a peer tutor, and that's why you will see the calendar there alongside the drop-down menus that you'll want to fill out. So 2 different tutoring options, fully loaded with writing support. Slide, please. Another staff or team member that we have, and another service for you, is an academic coach. And I want to talk a little bit about what is the difference between an academic coach and 24/7 or peer tutoring. So I'm really glad I see that we've got people asking, what's the difference? Peer tutors focus specifically on those discrete skills that you might be missing. Maybe it is punctuation, grammar, structure, um, coming up, brainstorming ideas and organization of your ideas. So when you think about yourself as a learner and you're moving along and you think you're doing pretty well and you've got a handle on things, you're feeling pretty good, then you come across a hiccup. That's more likely a student who I would guide to tutoring. The student who I would guide to connect with an academic coach is someone who maybe is really feeling shaky. You don't have your sea legs under you yet for a variety of reasons. A professional academic coach is someone who's going to work with you to strategize around skills needed across the curriculum, and that certainly applies to writing. An academic coach is going to connect with you over a longer period of time. You may connect with a peer tutor and it's one and done, quick hit. You might return to that same peer tutor, and you most certainly can. It's just that with a coach, you're going to work with them, you're going to develop that relationship, they're going to learn about who you are as a learner, as a student, and the periphery of your personal and professional world in order to create a student success plan so that you know you are going to not only build skills, but you're going to build confidence and you're going to break through those negative belief patterns that you might have about yourself, for, carrying around that past baggage, that we all have. I really do feel confident I can say that, that hopefully we can unpack that and, shift perspective with you and for you. And it is a collaborative relationship where you develop agreed upon goals and you will work closely throughout the term or multiple terms if that's what it needs to get you solid in how to be a successful online learner, a stronger, more confident writer. And as you are building these writing skills and these writing confidence skills, you have an accountability partner, someone who is there for you in this holistic way to reduce stress, to reduce overwhelm, to help you with time management. And as you work together to build those skills, you free up your cognitive energy to be a better writer. Reducing, all the things that clog up your pipes. We want to get rid of those. We want to get rid of the clogs. I don't want to use the word Drano because that's really bad analogy to academic coach. But we're going to clear up those pipes and get you moving forward. Thank you, Amanda. So how do you connect with a coach? So when you look at the nav bar inside Brightspace, you will see that 24/7, when you click on it, boom, right there, you'll be able to see the link where you need to connect with 24/7. Peer tutor, you're going to get the drop down and the calendar. You're going to be able to book with an SNHU peer tutor that way. If you want to connect with a coach, we need just a little more information. And you will see that what will appear when you click on that link is just 2 questions. I understand the course I'm taking this term. I would like to meet, I'm sorry, I don't understand the course I'm taking this term. I'd like to meet with someone who can help me feel more confident about my assignments. Or I struggle to do well no matter what course I'm in. If you answer the first question, you're going to be connected to a tutor. If you answer the second question, we're going to get you to an academic coach. Because if you feel like you're struggling with your writing across the curriculum, we want to get you connected with someone who can support you long term. And of course, we want to know a little bit more about where you feel you have strengths, weaknesses, other areas that you might need some support as well. So very simple to complete these 1 or 2 questions. Click, 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 boom. What happens behind the scene once you have completed what we call the self-referral process, your name will end up in a queue behind the scene, and our admin team, we will connect you with an academic coach, matching up with your earliest convenience and the next coach available earliest convenience. And please be mindful, you really do need to always be checking your SNHU email, because that's where the communications are on what to do next are going to appear. So please check your email frequently. Next slide. And written feedback. So this is another really convenient service. As a student who is feeling a little shaky about their writing, you might start to put a draft together and you're feeling like your draft is drafty. Well, that's okay, right? Because that's the point of a draft. And here's what we don't want. We don't want you getting hung up on worry, perfectionism. Am I right? Am I any good? Am I being judged? Absolutely not. Zero judgment. This is going to be a spot found across the nav bar where you can upload a portion of a paper, and a tutor is going to read and scan and really analyze what you sent over based on what you filled out on this very brief form here, and also going through your sample of writing. 12 hours later, because we have a 12-hour service level agreement, so give them up to 12 hours because it does take some time. You will go back to this very same spot, and right under where you see to the bottom left where it says previous feedback, anything that you've ever sent over, you will see your history of that. And you will also find a form that has been filled out, and the tutor will provide you with more clear, specific feedback and some suggested resources on how to help you improve whatever it was that they observed and noticed as they were going through your paper. Please know that written feedback is never going to be a line-by-line editing service. None of our services will provide line-by-line editing. So when you're writing those 10, 15, and 20-page papers, please know that line-by-line editing is not something that you will find here. But this is really great. It's another convenient service. And we've got workshops. So there are times when maybe you're seeking community and you really want to strengthen your sense of belonging and connect with other peers, and you really get energized and invigorated by speaking with people who share a common concern. Come join a workshop. When you click on the workshop link, you're going to find everything that is available that is workshop related for the current term. These are live learning spaces, meaning that you will click into the workshop classroom. There will be a host who is ready to dive deep and work with you and have conversations about things like curing writer's block, just for example, as you will see on the screenshot there. We have a variety of options that run all term long, term over term, and please utilize workshops, utilize written feedback, utilize 24/7. You can take advantage of any and all of these resources at any point in time. So please know that there's a variety that suits your needs, and your advisor can help you, just make that determination um, on what exactly it is that you need, or just reach out to the Academic Support Center and we can certainly help you via email. Um, anyway, so we've got all kinds of offerings from pre-scheduled, 24/7 live workshops, and last resource, if you are a learner who in the moment really doesn't need to connect with anyone, you just really need something different, a different resource that you know that SNHU has vetted and approved, you can click onto resources, type in a keyword. Just as an example, I typed in pre-writing skills, and you will see some static resources that will populate for you. Some of them are downloadable. You can keep them in perpetuity. Some of them are videos, and you can watch them over and over again. So sometimes you just need that resource, that is quick, easy, and you're only going to seek it because you're just needing some independent support. So please know that I encourage all of you. The key is to visit and explore this early. We are a holistic center. We are here to reduce stress and overwhelm. Our goal is to really and truly bring you back to the joy of learning. We want to reduce that cognitive load. The team understands what you're going through, no matter what you really believe might be unusual or just particular to you. We have seen and heard it all, and we really do have an amazing, supportive, empathetic team. And they are professionals who really want to engage with you early on. So good luck.
Thank you, Maureen. That is so excellent. I love it. And I think, Christian, you mentioned just the support sources at your past academic experience. And I will say, of all the schools I've been involved with, SNHU's academic support is so impressive in how much they really do wrap around any issue you might have, anything you might want to talk about. I love it. And there's so many different levels of support that they offer as well, depending on your need. So I love it. Thank you so much, Maureen. That was so great. So now we're going to transition to starting strong. So some strategies for success. And what I'm going to go over here, really, you're probably going to look at this and think, well, this is common sense. I know that I need to read a prompt. But what I see all too often with students, and especially in these fast-paced 8-week courses, is that we have a tendency to skip over some of these steps, when you're just taking on an assignment. And in these quick courses, it really does get a little more difficult to kind of go back and backtrack if you've missed something crucial about an assignment. So it's really important to start on the right foot, just like I said earlier, in those critical weeks at the beginning of the term, and make sure that you have fully digested everything that's in a prompt. So of course, step number one is to just read through the prompt once. Just sit and read through everything that it says once. And then when you go back the second time, you can take some time, depending on your style, you can underline, circle, highlight, but those critical portions that you are really going to make sure that you execute on when you are creating your draft. And something that we like to share a lot in the field of composition is PACT, and this stands for Purpose, Audience, Conventions, and Trouble Spots. And what this means is when you're looking at a writing prompt, you can ask yourself those questions. What is the purpose? What am I supposed to be doing with this assessment? Who's my audience? Who am I writing to? Because that's going to kind of affect the way you approach the assignment as well. You can get into conversations about genre schema, like what am I doing with this writing task for the specific audience? What conventions do I need to use? Our writing assessments, I would say probably nearly every single one will spell this out very clearly. What conventions, what formatting do I need to use? And then what are the potential trouble spots? And while you might not find this listed specifically in the prompt, so many of our faculty are really good about providing insight into what are the things I need to watch out for as I'm taking on this writing assignment. What do I need to account for when I'm doing my research or when I'm drafting or outlining? And take note of those. You can jot down notes on the prompt. You can make, if you're doing everything digitally like I do, you can make notes in a separate document. But these are the things that are really crucial to your success. And again, you want to get really nailed down as you are starting on each part of the writing process. So obviously the due date, research requirements. So many assignments will dictate the number of sources you need to include, also a page length, sometimes word count, and then the formatting. Again, we've already talked about conventions, but it's good to know that early on. And again, if you need to familiarize yourself, if you need to visit academic support, you can get those resources in your toolkit before you take on further parts of the writing process. So it's just a good way to get yourself acclimated to what's going to be asked of you. And then also then, of course, we're going to think about how to address the prompt. And this is that pre-writing, like the initial brainstorming. You can just jot down initial thoughts. If you are taking composition with us, you will learn some of those strategies, what we do in the pre-writing stages. If you've taken it before, you can think back to that experience, but I know Maureen even shared an example where you can get those just in time, those quick resources to help you with these stages of the writing process. And you can look at brainstorming strategies there. Then you can work to rank your ideas. So once you have some ideas collected, don't limit yourself to just one. Don't dive into just one. If you have that opening to kind of come up with different scenarios on how you're going to address the prompt, you can start to rank your ideas and say, okay, which one is the most feasible? Which one will work the best? And then finally, always, always, if you have questions, ask your instructor. That is what they're there for. They're glad to help you. And many of our faculty, they're veterans in teaching these courses, and they can help guide you, and especially answering those trouble spot questions. So make sure if you have any questions, you can always ask them. And again, I know you're probably reading these and like, yeah, I know that I need to do all of this, but I see so many students skip parts of the process, and then we are 3 or 4 weeks into the term, and then like, oh, I should have taken more time to really think about this. So there's just a little bit on the prompt. Interpreting instructor feedback, I'm going to say, is very similar to a writing prompt. I always say read through all of the feedback very carefully. Again, you can note those key areas to address. Sometimes it even helps to kind of digest what they're saying and make sure, that you understand in your own terms what the instructor is trying to help you on. Create a revision plan based on that feedback, because our faculty really are trying to help you get from one milestone to the next. And they're trained to do that, to help you figure out how to make that summative submission the best it can be based on what's being asked in the prompt. And again, I always say, again, ask your instructor for clarity. If you have questions, you're not sure what a piece of their feedback is saying or what they mean, they're happy to help you. But with this and instructor feedback, I always like to point back to a point that James made earlier. Don't take feedback personally. Don't feel like, the instructor is trying to target you as a person or criticize something you've submitted. They are genuinely there to help you with your writing. And I know that so many of our students carry in those past experiences, something we even call red pen syndrome, when instructors will grade with that red ink, or, they're very technical, and you've had those really bad experiences with feedback. So please As much as you can, try to shake that off and realize that your instructor is there to support you, and they really want to see you succeed. And like Maureen said, just as the academic coaches, the tutors, and all the academic support resources want to grow your confidence, your instructors really want to see that too. They want you to thrive and move on in your programs and be able to tackle writing assignments. So there is that one. And then again, I mentioned you've all already done this in the chat, identifying your writing needs or your points of struggle. So as you're looking at your writing and you're thinking about what do I need to work on, we like to group, the writing needs into two buckets. So one is the higher order concerns. So those are the bigger things that you want to tackle. So the thesis, the focus, your overall purpose, who's your audience, the organization, and the overall development. And then those lower order concerns are sentence structure, punctuation, word choice, and spelling, things like that, that kind of come in the later stages when you're revising and just kind of polishing up. Obviously, the higher order concerns are the ones that you want to think about first when you're working on your writing. And again, a lot of this seems commonsensical, but I can say, as being a writing tutor in a past life, a lot of times students will jump to wanting to focus on just the lower order things, and especially formatting and citation. Like that can jump in there, and students can think that's a big thing, but maybe you need to back up and think about your thesis a little bit more, or your organization. So those are the bigger things that are going to affect the overall paper. Another thing I wanted to mention is these are also accounted for and valued in the assignment rubrics. So the rubrics, and you're recognizing the point values, these bigger higher order concerns are going to be weighted a lot more heavily than the lower order concerns, and I think that just reiterates what's important and what is still important, but you can cover in kind of the revision and editing stage. And these are things too that if you've identified these things, you can talk to your tutors or academic coaches about. You can bring that information and that awareness to those conversations, and it can just make it all the more productive when you consult with academic support. All right, back to James.
All right. So just to kind of reiterate a couple of things that Amanda mentioned. So just remember, when your instructor gives you feedback, it's feedback. So just take it as that, and then try to use it to, and just, yeah, try to use it to improve the work that you put forth. And also, I would say, be cognizant of the effort, that you put into a product, when you submit it to a professor, because as Amanda mentioned, they being the instructors are definitely trained. So sometimes when they just kind of scan or look, they can kind of tell, when it was something that you may have done like the night before, and then get the formatting and other things together. So I know in my instruction as well, like there have been times where I've sent papers back to students and I'm like, hey, I know this isn't your best work. Like, what? Let's unpack this. Let's figure out what happened there. And then sometimes it could have just been like a weird formatting error, some kind of thing like that. So just that communication, and making sure that we, connect with you as well. So I did forget to mention that I do instruct some courses, SNHU 107, and I'm called to teach some of the grad courses as well. But yes, I see papers a lot, and we can definitely tell when it's not to the work that you've put out before. So if there are any changes in that, so just make sure that you seek out the resources, and get the support that you need. So with that being said, you are empowered. You are in the driver's seat in this, and taking advantage of the supports here. And we keep saying use your resources, but please do. You are not here to do this alone, right? As much as you may feel that, I know sometimes it can feel that way, as it's just you behind a screen, that sense of onlyness, can occur, right? So, but know, on the other side of the screen, there are people like myself, Amanda, Maureen, all the tutors and academic coaches in this particular instance, that are here to support you in that, and your instructors. Yes, I see in the chat, the instructors are definitely here to provide that feedback and support you as well, and ask questions. So the Shapiro Library, wanted to mention that as well. So regarding citations and using, solid resources. I would say, reach out to the Shapiro Library to help you out in that vein. But instructors, academic support, Shapiro Library. And then, as I mentioned before, if you know someone like within your circle that's a really great writer that can just kind of, help you out, look over your work here and there, that will be good. If not, that's fine. We have tutors. We have those individuals to support you on a continuous basis, right? So just pace it out, take your time, and just know that we're here. So anyway, we want you to know that you've got this, right? So you've had a little bit of time at SNHU right now. It's so good to see many of you have taken advantage of the services that are currently present here, and we want your feedback. We want to know what you think about this workshop, along with additional supports that you may need. So there's a QR code that's present. You can go ahead and pull out your phones. If you have a QR reader, feel free to scan that. If not, I'm going to drop the link to the survey in the chat that just dropped that. So feel free to access those and just provide us with some quick insights so that we can continue to help you and better support you throughout your time at SNHU. So I'm going to hand it back over to Amanda to see if there are any additional questions. If there are any other questions that you all have, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll address those as well.
Yeah, so if you have anything, please feel free to put it in the chat. You can also reach out to your academic advisors. Are probably very well versed in getting you connected to resources as well. But let us know if you have additional questions. I'm so thrilled you could all make it here today too. This is great. And I know Maureen and her staff look forward to seeing you in academic support.
We are. And again, get in there early, get in there, play around, explore, be the detective, and you're not going to break anything. Get in and play. And that way it will feel like it's your tools, your academic support center. It's not us over here behind some veil. We are here as part of your journey, beginning to end.
I am so glad to see that, Jessica, that you are feeling confident. That's what we want. And you might not always feel confident approaching a writing assignment either. That is okay. And that's what I've always said. I want to normalize struggle. We all struggle. It's not like writing is just some simple task. Even for the three of us here presenting, there are times when I know that I just stare at my screen and feel stuck too. So we all struggle, and we just want you to know that even if you feel like you're struggling, there's help. There's help available, and we want to make sure you're supported.
Definitely, definitely. Great to see all the thanks, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to hold you to using those resources. So make sure that you go into Brightspace and access all the things that are there, as Maureen lovingly put to you all, and share the resources for you. So take full advantage of this here. And also, I wanted to note, like, one thing that I think is not mentioned: there's no charge, for tutoring or any of those services that we have here. So that's another added bonus versus trying to go out into an external source and utilize services. So I remember at previous institutions where I've talked to students, and they're like, well, how much does that cost? I'm like, no, there's no cost associated with support. We're here to make sure that you are successful and take full advantage of the resources as many times as you need to. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we are good to wrap up. Thank you all once again. So great to have you all here. And like I said, you're empowered. Take advantage of all the supports here, and we look forward to seeing all the great things that you will do here at SNHU and beyond as you make it towards graduation just a few years down the road. All right. Take care.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you and be well. Bye now.